Growing a business requires us to do things we haven't done before and to show up in ways we've never shown up before. And sometimes we don't even notice we're avoiding things, especially when we put it off and we think or say things like, I'll do this when I feel more confident or when I'm more ready. So today we're going to flip that on its head and help you start to take the actions you need to take to grow your business today. So let me start us off with a picture. You're sitting there with your phone, looking at a DM from someone who's asking about a pet portrait commission. Your heart starts racing a little bit. What should you charge? How professional do you sound? Do you have your act together enough to actually take this seriously? You start typing a response and then you delete it and then you rewrite it. You second guess yourself. Maybe you think, I should wait until I have my website actually set up, or I need to figure out exactly what my pricing structure is first, or I should get more confident about my business before I even respond to this person. And you know what happens? You put off responding until tomorrow, and then tomorrow becomes next week, and that potential client moves on. Does this sound familiar? I've been there, and I think we all have. And here's what I want to talk about today. We've got this completely backwards. We think that confidence comes first and then action follows, but it's actually the opposite. Action builds confidence and not the other way around. And if you're an artist who's been waiting to feel ready or confident enough to take your business seriously, this episode is going to change how you approach basically everything. By the end, I'm going to share a simple action that transformed how I handle client communications. And I'll tell you about an artist who almost lost a commission because she made one assumption that so many of us make. First off, let's talk about what it looks like to be waiting for the confidence and specifically what this looks like for artists. I see this all the time in the artists I work with, and honestly, I've lived it myself and I live it every single day. You're creating beautiful work. People are interested. Maybe you're even making some sales here and there through Instagram DMs, website, or through word of mouth, or a shop or a gallery, but you're still kind of stuck in this pattern of waiting. You tell yourself things like, I need more followers before I can charge real prices. I should feel more professional before I create a proper booking system. I need to be more confident before I can post my prices publicly or say them out loud. I should practice more before I start marketing myself seriously. And here's the thing, that all sounds reasonable, right? They sound like responsible, smart things to think. That's kind of how they trick you into staying comfortable, but they're actually keeping you stuck. Because here's what's really happening. You're trying to think your way into feeling different. You're waiting for some magical moment when confidence is just going to descend upon you and you'll suddenly feel ready. But that moment, it never comes because confidence doesn't work like that. Meanwhile, while you're waiting to feel ready, opportunities start passing you by. People are looking for artists to work with right now, today. They're not waiting for you to feel confident. They're looking for someone who seems like they have their act together. And here's the kicker. Most of the artists who seem like they have their act together, they felt exactly like you do when they started. The difference is they took action anyway. And I'm going to show you exactly how they did it, including one surprising psychology principle that explains why waiting for confidence actually makes you less confident over time. Let's talk about the psychology of why action creates confidence. There's actually decades of psychological research backing this up. There's this concept called self-efficacy. It's basically your belief in your ability to accomplish specific tasks. And the psychologist who developed this theory, Albert Bandura, found that self-efficacy comes from four main sources: But the most powerful one by far is what he called mastery experiences, or your actual accomplishments. In other words, you build confidence by doing things and succeeding at them, even in small ways and in small little chunks. So think about it this way. You didn't become confident at drawing by reading about drawing or by believing in yourself really hard. You became confident by picking up a pencil and drawing over and over and over again. And each time you drew something that looked a little bit like what you were intending, you built evidence that you could do it. Business confidence works exactly the same way. Every time you send a professional email response, you build evidence for your own brain that you can communicate professionally. Every time you quote a price and someone says yes, you build evidence that your work has value. And every time you deliver a commission and the client loves it, you build evidence that you're good at what you do. Your brain needs proof, not just pep talks. And here's something else that's really important. And this is very specific, like self-efficacy or that mastery, task mastery, it's specific to the task. So you don't have to feel confident about everything in the world to feel confident about one thing. You might feel totally confident painting a pet portrait, but terrified of pricing it. And that's normal. You build confidence in pricing by practicing pricing, not by waiting to feel just generally more confident in the world. And now there's something else interesting that happens when you start taking action. And this is where investing in your business actually becomes a confidence building tool as well. So when you take the action of investing in a course, a system, or professional development, you're literally telling your brain, I'm serious about this goal. I'm putting things on the line for this goal. Whether you're investing money or time or effort, it's telling your brain, hey, pay attention. I'm putting resources in to this thing. And that investment alone becomes evidence of your commitment, which builds confidence before you even start implementing what you learned. There's another researcher, Carol Dweck, and Carol Dweck's research on growth mindset. She's done decades of research on this at Stanford, but her research on growth mindset shows us something here that's very important. People who believe their abilities can be developed through effort and practice, that's what we call a growth mindset. They are more likely to take action despite uncertainty. They see challenges as opportunities to grow, rather than as threats to their identity. So the opposite of a growth mindset is someone who believes the way they are today is the way they will be forever. Okay. So if you can shift your mindset or your belief systems to turn into a growth mindset, it's going to serve you so long. That would look, in this case, like this. You're shifting your thoughts from, I'm not good at business to, I'm still learning business. You're already setting yourself up to take action when you think that way, instead of just waiting for confidence or the confirmation that you're, quote, good at something. So, why do we get this backwards? Why do we wait for confidence instead of just building it through action? First of all, it feels safer. When we wait for confidence, we're protecting ourselves from potential failure, judgment. You're putting yourself out there, and if you never put yourself out there, you're safer, right? If we never put our real prices out there, we never get criticized. We never have to deal with someone saying they're too high. If we never create a professional booking system, we never have to confront whether people actually take us seriously and book commissions with us. But here's the problem. This protection is actually keeping us not only safe, but also it's keeping us from the very things we want, including a sustainable art business. Second, our culture reinforces this backwards thinking. We see successful artists and assume they started confident. We don't see all the scared emails they sent when they were just starting out, or all the times they quoted a price with their heart literally pounding in their chest. And honestly, a lot of the business advice out there in the world, it makes it worse. It focuses so much on mindset work and believing in yourself before taking action. And that's good. It can be encouraging, but mindset work has its place, but if you're using it as a substitute for actually doing things, it will keep you stuck in forever just mindset work. I think I can relate to that. The truth is, you can't think your way to confidence. You have to act your way to get there. So here's what's really interesting, and I'll share this story in a minute. Sometimes the action that builds the most confidence is honestly the one you're most afraid to take, like following up with a potential client who hasn't responded. This is where I'm going to share a real example with you about an artist who built her confidence by doing just that, and some other examples too. So I was talking to an artist recently. It was a couple months ago. It was like a couple weeks ago. And she told me this story that perfectly illustrates this. So she had sent a proposal to a potential client for a commission. She's very highly skilled. And when she didn't hear back, she assumed they weren't interested. You know how that goes, right? Like we send something out there, and then when we don't get a response, our brain goes straight to like, they hate me, or they hate it, or I'm not good enough. I didn't do something right, blah, blah, blah. We tell a lot of stories about what is happening in that moment. A lot of times we feel very vulnerable, so our stories are defensive and meant to keep us safe. And I'm not talking about her. I'm talking about my own life coaching and learning right now. But so then she told me what she did when she didn't get a response is she noticed that she was thinking, they must not have liked it or something like that. And instead of acting on that, what she did instead is she got brave and she decided to follow up professionally. So she sent just a simple, hey, I wanted to circle back and check in about the proposal I sent, that kind of email. And you know what the client said? They said, oh my gosh, I got so busy with family stuff, but yes, I love this proposal. Let's please move forward with it. So that one follow-up action completely changed the outcome. And more importantly, it gave her evidence that silence doesn't always mean rejection or that she's not good enough or that she's not able to follow up or pursue it. Now she can have the opportunity to be way more confident about following up with potential clients because she has proof that it works. And sometimes it might not work, and that's okay because it's all about your action. That's what you can control, and that's what matters. So here's another example that maybe will hit like close to home for you. This one's from my own experience. So I used to agonize over every single small email response when I was doing wedding paintings. I would write and rewrite commission inquiry responses, trying to sound professional and confident, but also like, wedding industry-ish, if you will. But it was taking me hours to respond to simple questions, simple inquiries. And that meant I was often responding like days late or putting it off too far, which probably cost me clients, if I'm being perfectly honest. So finally, what I did is I just created like a straightforward template that I could use in those responses. Nothing fancy, just a basic structure I could customize, depending on where their wedding was or anything like that for each inquiry. And the first time I used it, I kind of felt like I was being, I don't want to say like fraudulent, but it did feel a little bit weird because it wasn't just a conversation I was having. It was a template I had. So it felt almost a little bit like lazy or unprofessional or uncaring somehow, but I sent it and I used it anyway. And do you know what happened? I started responding a lot faster. Clients appreciated that kind of quick response. And, naturally, probably with some other work too, I started booking more weddings. Gradually, I actually started feeling more confident because I had a system that worked well and I knew which kind of language or conversation worked really well with the clients who were reaching out to me. And it gave me a lot of confidence. In turn, what that confidence does is when people don't respond or don't move forward with booking me, it doesn't hurt my feelings. It doesn't make me feel like, oh, I'm not good enough or I've done something wrong here, because confidence lets you have people not work with you. It lets you get, quote, rejected, which seems like kind of a strong word in this situation, but it lets you get rejected without you feeling terrible. Okay. So the action, creating and using the template, that came first. And then the confidence followed after that. All right. You guys doing okay? I hope that this has kind of started to articulate or show you examples. But now let's talk about some practical applications that you can use, that you can actually put into practice. So, like, first of all, what do you do? How do you do this when you're literally just scared to take action? And the answer is you start small. You start really small. In psychology, they use something called exposure therapy for people with fears or phobias. And there's tons of research showing that this works. They don't throw someone who's afraid of dogs like into a room full of pit bulls, but maybe they start with looking at a cute picture of a puppy or watching a video of a dog. And then maybe they progress to seeing a dog from across the park. So the story here, or the thing you should take away, is that you can do the same thing with your business fears. Like, let's say you're terrified of posting your prices publicly. Well, you don't have to start by posting a full price list on your website. Instead, you could start by mentioning in like one Instagram story that's going to disappear in 24 hours that commissions start at blank price. Just do it once and see how it feels. Or, you know, if that is even too intimidating, honestly, you could just start by looking in the mirror and telling yourself what your prices are out loud. Like, that is a good first step too. Or let's say you're like scared of looking unprofessional because you don't have, you know, a fancy booking system and you don't have your complex website built. You could, like, all of this stuff makes you think like, well, since I don't have that, I'm not going to try to get clients. I'm not going to book people. I won't respond to these inquiries. But honestly, like, a small first action could be just creating a Google form for people to fill out when they are interested in working with you. It'll take you like 10 minutes. It's free. And then suddenly you not only look way more organized, but you feel more confident in your systems. And here are some specific tiny actions that you could take this week. Okay. So for pricing anxiety, you could write down 3 package options. Even if you're scared to use them, just having them written down will make them real. Then pick one and mention it in that social media post that we talked about. Just see what it works, like, you know. And if you don't know where to get started on that, having like a complete pricing framework with all the calculations already done for you, that can help you feel more confident too. So keep that in mind. If you're nervous about looking unprofessional, create one simple way for people to book you. So it could be like a Calendly link or a Google form, even just a standard email template. The key is having one clear next step that you can direct people to instead of just saying like, DM me or whatever. Okay. Or if you're feeling like you have scattered inquiries that make you feel, I don't know, like you're not in charge of things or you're overwhelmed, just take the time and write one email template for responding to commission inquiries today or art inquiries or whatever. So just include like in it your basic process, your pricing structure, and what information you would need from them to move forward. And then use it for the next person who reaches out, even if it feels weird. Some other like thing you could do to help boost your confidence. If you're really nervous or you're really tired of feeling that feast and famine cycle for your business, which is common in art, one thing you can do to start building your confidence is collecting email addresses. Even like if you don't have anything to send, you could just create like a simple collection form and start getting people's email addresses onto a list. Because sure, you don't have the whole thing set up right now, but if you do that, that's that one small action that's going to help you start feeling more confidence, right? You can even use like a Google link for that, or a Google form. Just put a link in your Instagram bio or wherever. And don't worry about the fancy newsletter part if that intimidates you. Just get started in that first very simple step. Remember, like, this is the key. You are not trying to be perfect. You're just trying to build evidence that you are the person you want to be or the person that's going to run the business you want. Remember, every time like you send a quote and someone doesn't run away screaming, that's going to be evidence that your prices are reasonable, that people value your work, and if you have a booking system, that's going to be evidence that you can be professional. Every time someone signs up to like your email list, that is going to be evidence that people are interested in what you do and want to know more. Right? So these are good things. Give them to yourself by taking those actions. I know it can be scary, but again, start small. And not only start small, but focus on like what you can control. Like not necessarily the outcomes. You can't control like whether someone signs up to an email address or an email newsletter, or if someone responds positively to your inquiry response, but you can control if you send that email or if you ask for those newsletter signups, right? So that's what you can build confidence on, is the things you can control. Okay. So let's talk about some things that might happen once you do start taking action. Okay. You might be thinking like, okay, great. I'll take action. Sure. But what if I mess up? And here is the honest answer. It's totally fine. And it will probably happen. But I want you to get this mantra deep into your skin, into your brains. Messy action beats perfect inaction every single time. You'll always learn way more from trying and messing up than from not trying at all. I once sent a commission quote with a typo and it made my price look like one thing higher than it actually was. And I was mortified. But you know what? The client, they emailed me back. They asked me like, if that was a typo, and I corrected it. And then they booked anyway. So it's not like the end of the world if something goes a little bit wrong. Whatever. Or, like, what if you take action and then you're wondering, like, what if people think like I'm not ready or I'm way out of line here? And I'm going to be honest with you guys, like, most people are probably not paying as much attention to you as you think they are. Like, they're busy with their own lives, and the people who are looking to hire an artist, they're just looking for someone who seems like they've got it together, not someone who's perfect. I also like to always remember, like, when I'm taking messy action, when I'm putting myself out there and being uncomfortable, I know some people are going to judge me. Like, I know it. I've heard it from them. You know what I mean? But here's the thing. I'm not living my life for them. I'm living my life for me. And taking these messy actions, it's humbling. I know I'm not perfect at things, and I know I can't be the best at everything or many things. Well, if I can be the best at one thing, that's great. But it's okay. We're human. Like, it's okay for us to be imperfect. This obsession with starting from the finish line has got to go away in our society if we are going to be successful and live the lives we want. You got to start somewhere. So don't worry about those people. Also, generally, I find if someone judges your messy action, it's just because they're scared to death to take their own actions and they're not living their life. That's usually what's going on. All right. So yeah. And like, that's it. Like, also, like, if you fail, you fail. I have failed so many times. I will continue failing constantly. It's just part of the game. You just want to build your resilience up to it. That's all it is. If you never post your prices, or if you never start collecting email addresses, then you're failing to communicate, right? You're failing to intentionally find people who love your art. That's a failure in and of itself, just through inaction. So you got to kind of like get yourself really clear on what your brain's trying to tell you is safe versus what is actually happening. Because at least like when you fail from taking action, you get information that you can use to improve. Sometimes it's publicly embarrassing, but whatever. Another thing is everybody forgets over time for the most part. So whatever. Right. So to apply this to your own life, let's get you going. I want you to do one thing. I want you to pick one tiny action from anything we talked about today, or maybe there was a little voice in your head that popped up and said, like, as she's talking about this, I can literally think of the thing I've been putting off. So take a tiny action towards that thing this week. Okay. Don't put it off any longer, because once you do that, it's going to expand your options and make you more free. And remember, like, it should feel slightly scary, but not necessarily overwhelming, right? We don't want you to create something where you end up losing confidence. It's what psychologists call optimal anxiety. Enough to push you out of your comfort zone, but not so much that you completely shut down. Okay. And here's the really important part too. When you do it, pay attention to what happens, not just the external outcome, but how you feel. I bet you'll feel a little bit proud of yourself for taking the action. And that feeling right there, that is the confidence being built in real time. So pay attention. Okay, good. Now, I have talked about this before and I've had people respond to me, and maybe you're also thinking it, that this sounds a lot like fake it until you make it. Fake that you're comfortable with something until you're not. But here's the thing. You are not actually faking anything when you start taking these small actions. You're not pretending to be something you are not. You are literally practicing the behaviors of the business owner and of the artist and the person that you want to become. So like when you create a booking system, you're not faking being professional. You are being professional. When you are clear about a price and you quote it to a client, you're not faking being confident. You are actually showing confidence in your value. All right. So think of it this way. Do professional things until being professional just feels natural. And remember, every artist who seems naturally confident, they probably also got there through action, not through just waiting to feel confident first. All right, let's shift gears. As you guys know, the Artist's Guide to Business is all about being very practical and helping you take real action in your business. So we are going to now move into our practical segments. It's sort of this, after our main content, I always want to give you something concrete that you can do this week for your business. First up is one quick step. Okay. It's a small but a meaningful action that you can take this week to move your art business forward. Because small actions taken consistently, they add up and they build into something powerful. So your action this week is to send a friendly check-in email to someone who previously expressed interest in your art or maybe bought it or just gave you a bit of encouragement. It doesn't have to be like a sales email or anything like that, but just a way to say hello. And maybe you show them a picture of behind the scenes or something new you're working on, something like that. All right. And next is our content compass section. So this is a quick prompt for you for what you can share this week in your email newsletter or on your social media. And so you can stay visible for your audience without always having to overthink it or figure it out. So your content prompt this week is to write about the story or inspiration behind one of your most meaningful pieces. You can then share it through an email or on social media, either by writing it out or by recording a video telling the story. And if you do a video, I want to challenge you to try to keep it between 2 and 3 minutes long and to really start it with a hook that will capture your audience's attention and make them want to keep listening. All right. So here's what I want you to remember from today. You already have the skills you need to create beautiful work, and people want what you are offering. The only thing standing between you and a sustainable art business or a growing art business is the action that you need to take, and the action specifically you need to take before you necessarily feel ready. Okay. Your future clients aren't waiting for you to feel more confident. They're just waiting for someone who seems like they have their act together. And you can become that person today. You don't have to wait until you magically feel different. Now, if you're thinking this all makes sense, but I don't want to build every template and system from scratch, I totally get it. And that's why I created the complete pet portrait business system. It's everything we've talked about today, but done for you. And it's got the pricing frameworks, client communication templates, booking systems. I've even added a project pipeline that helps you keep track of everything, because sometimes confidence building actions are the ones that are easiest, but also are the ones that are you investing in a complete solution rather than trying to figure it all out on your own. Like, yeah, you can spend the next 3 to 5 years growing your pet portrait business and going through all the mistakes that I went through and all the trial and error, or you can just skip it and use my systems and tweak them to make them your own, right? Remember, confidence, it's not something that you just wait for. It's something that you build one small action at a time. So pick that one tiny action, do it this week. And if you guys want, send me an email, or if there's someone you think would really benefit from hearing this podcast episode, send it to them. Give them a link, because this is the kind of information or the reframe that is going to accelerate your abilities and your growth. And if someone sent this to you, that means they really believe in you, and they really want you to start taking action to support yourself and believe in yourself too, right? So we want to celebrate all of each other's actions. So just, if there's anyone who you're like, hey, I think you could hear this, send it to them. Okay, you guys. Yeah. If you haven't already, please make sure you subscribe, you like, and if you can take the time to give me a review on your podcast listening app or on YouTube, that would be so helpful. Remember, you don't need to feel ready to get started, just need to get started to feel ready.